like that. Woo!
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. My name is BJ Matthews, aka B Joseph. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Twitter, TikTok. The Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos. Hit that notification bell. Buy the subscribe button. Let's get it popping. All right, y'all. So we got another special topic for talk about today. As a matter of fact, this topic has actually been kind of brewing around, throughout the playoffs. I guess you can say, through the channel subscribers on my page have been talking about this particular player for quite some time, and I think it's only right that we give him his own video. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this particular player who has led his team to the second seed in the Eastern Conference, had a magnificent season, first team All NBA small forward, deservingly so. The young prodigy, he's 24 years old, I believe. He's a small forward for the Boston Celtics. The person I am talking about is no longer Mr. Jayson Tatum. Okay, Mr. Jayson Tatum, 6'9", has skills, can shoot, can get to the basket, can score. Was a good defender, solid defender. And has drawn comparisons to the late, great Kobe Bryant. As y'all can see, he has the little purple armband. It actually has Kobe's number 24. And for people who know, Jayson Tatum knows that Kobe Bryant was the reason why he started playing basketball. So, that's a little background about Jayson Tatum. The Boston Celtics are in the NBA Finals right now, going into Game 3 tomorrow in Boston after, splitting the first two games in Golden State. And I expect a lot of things to be revealed as if they've been revealed these first two games. What am I talking about? Number one, Steph Curry is that dude. Steph Curry is on a mission to try and prove that he can win a championship without Kevin Durant. You saw in the first two games, Steph Curry was the best player on the court. And I don't think anybody's going to even deny that or debate that, right? So it's just about him continuously doing that in Beantown on Wednesday and Friday night. Another truth, the Golden State Warriors are still a championship team. Okay, they're still a team that does have championship DNA with their core with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. Because you really, honestly, as long as they have that core, they can recycle any other piece they want. If y'all notice, the last few years, the Warriors have always been recycling players in and out. Talk about Kevin Durant, Harrison Barnes, Jordan Poole, Gary Payton II. I'm saying Jonathan Kuminga, Otto Porter. All these guys are new. You know what I'm saying? I just named a few. You know what I mean? From 2015 to 2022, the Warriors have always recycled their players, but they've always kept that same. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, as long as they have that core and they have that coach, they're going to be Gucci. All right. So now let me just go into Jayson Tatum, right? I need to talk about this situation at Jayson Tatum, a superstar. Now, for those who've been on my channel long enough, know I did a video a few weeks ago pertaining to what a superstar is. If y'all have not seen that video, go back and watch it. I'm gonna kind of go through a few of things that actually a superstar is, and for the new people, just to what I'm saying, just give a quick little rundown. So these are my key components to what an NBA superstar is. Okay, this is my criteria. This doesn't have to be everybody else's, but this is my criteria. All right. The number one criteria, first, you have to be the number one option on a championship team. For you to be an NBA superstar in the NBA, you must be a number one option on a championship team. Meaning what? You have to be the primary scorer, the primary whatever on your team to get that title, because a lot of times people get it twisted. They think that if you're the number two option, you're the championship player. Think of the Shaq and Kobe days. Kobe wasn't looked on as that guy until he could prove he could win without Shaquille O'Neal. There's a reason for that, because the number one option always gets the praise as well as the blame. So you have to be able to take on that responsibility as well as take on that that burden. Okay, so that you have to be a number one option on a championship team. Number two, you must be box office. Do people come to watch you play night in and night out? Do you sell out arenas? Do you put butts in seats? Very important, because it's at the end of the day, it's still a business. At the end of the day, people are there to make money, and superstars make sure that their fan base and not just their home team, but they also go on the road and they sell out arenas. That's what a superstar does. Okay. Um, Also, you must have multiple seasons of deep runs in the playoffs. Okay, multiple seasons. See, a superstar doesn't just have 1 year and they get that title. Not for me, at least. Okay, you can't just have 1 year and just say I'm a superstar. I've arrived. That is like anything. You have to continuously update your resume every year, each year, and each out. Because here's the thing, it can go south very quick. You can have a year where you played well, and then the next following year where you just kind of like, you know what I'm saying, hit a wall, or you don't repeat what you did the year prior. So then what? You're gonna have people start saying that was a fluke. So to prevent that, you have to be able to continuously have this greatness year in and year out. Okay. It's easy to have a good, it's not easy, but it's easier to have a good year than to have like 4 or 5 great years. So you have to have multiple seasons. And these are the last two big ones. You must have a championship or a finals MVP. Okay? You must have a championship or a finals MVP or finals appearance. Meaning what? Just because you don't have to win a championship, but you have to at least go to the finals. Why do I say that? Because again, we're talking about the cream of the crop. We're talking about the ones that actually have that that pedigree. You know what I'm saying? Like these are for elite people. These aren't for everybody. I'm gonna get to, and you guys gonna see that in a couple minutes when y'all see who my superstars are. A championship is just not about one season, or it's just not about a team thing. It's about what you do to lead your team to greatness. So you don't have to win it, but you have to at least be there and actually play very well to be on that superstar tier. And then the final thing, the MVP or the finals MVP. You must win it. You have to either win one of those two. Now, the reason why I say you have to win at least one of those two, because sometimes the MVP might not be in the cards for you. The MVP is not the best player in the NBA. Most valuable, right? That's what the MVP is. The MVP is about who's the most valuable player in the NBA. And then if you make it to the finals and win it, then most likely the best player will be the finals MVP. Okay, that's how they do the voting. So those are my 5 criteria. Again, let me. Number one option on championship team. That's the big one. Must be box office. Must have multiple seasons of deep runs in the playoffs. Must have a championship or finals appearance, or an MVP or a finals MVP. So those are my 5 criteria, my 5 points. Okay. Let's go back to Jayson Tatum. Okay. Let's go back to Jayson Tatum. Let me put this back on here so y'all can see. Um, Jayson Tatum. Now, if we look at the playoffs, right? I already highlighted that he was a first team All NBA player, and that's why I think a lot of people put Jayson Tatum as a superstar because of what he did in the season. But y'all know, in basketball, playoffs is where you make your name. That's where you create your legacy. That's where you create your storylines, storybooks. Like as great as his season was, people are not going to remember Jayson Tatum. First team All NBA. Well, they'll remember it, but they'll remember more what he did in the playoffs. Okay, that's what I'm basically getting at. So if we look at the playoffs and we look at what Tatum is for this team, Tatum is obviously the best player on this team for the Boston Celtics. He's the number one option. Him and Jaylen Brown have finally established that. Because for years, for the last 4 years, they were trying to figure out whose team it was. So I feel like they finally figured out Jayson Tatum is going to be the guy on this team. All right. So if you're the primary scorer, um, you're responsible for putting points on the board for your team, correct? So if we look at this screenshot I have on the screen right now, I'm gonna remove this so y'all can see. If y'all look at what I have boxed up, it's Jayson Tatum's field goal percentage in bad games. Now, this is what I'm gonna say about JT. JT is definitely a jump shooter. He doesn't dominate the game based off of getting to the rack or getting to the rim. He can do it. He has the skill set to do it. He has the length to do it. But his game is predicated on jump shots. Okay. If I look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there were 5 games in the playoffs against every opponent where Jayson Tatum just shot putrid from the field. Let's look at game 2 against Brooklyn, the team that they swept. He went 5 for 16 from the field, 31%. Okay, that's terrible. Game 1 against Milwaukee, he went 6 for 18, 33%. Game 1, I'm sorry, that was game 1. Game 3 went 4 for 19, 21% against Milwaukee. And then he went game 3, Miami went 3 for 14, 21% against the Heat. And then game 1 against the Warriors, we all saw he went 3 for 17 from the field with 17%. Now, the big thing about Golden State game, the way he went cold, he had 13 assists. So that's actually, shows that he was impacting the game in other ways. But for what the Boston Celtics do, they need Jayson Tatum to put bucket points on the board. He's not there to be assisting the ball. It's good to have it, but he's there to score points. And when he doesn't do his and score points, you're putting more pressure on your other players to perform. Okay, now I get it that you can have an off shooting night, but this ties into what a superstar is. A superstar is consistently great night in and night out, and they have very few nights like this. Jayson Tatum has had 5 times where he shot the ball bad. And if you look at the games that he shot well in, it's less than what he shot bad in. Like he shot okay in the other games, but I'm just highlighting the games he just shot bad in. And if you ask me, if you had to put Jayson Tatum in the same light as say a Kawhi Leonard or a Giannis Antetokounmpo, um, you know, the guys like that, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, what I'm saying, would they be shooting this bad from the field like this amount of times? So that tells me that Jayson Tatum's shot selection is not very good. He doesn't have the best shot selection. He shoots a lot of bad shots. He shoots a lot of outside shots, long twos, step back, side steps. That's affecting his field goal percentage. I think he's trying too much to be like Kobe Bryant instead of trying to be like Jayson Tatum. For him to be 6'9", has that length, he should be able to get a lot more easier shots and get over on the defense. Because if you even look at the statistics, he played when he played Milwaukee and Miami. I can understand him shooting some bad shots because they are both two great defensive teams. But you shot game 2, you shot bad against Brooklyn, who's not a great defensive team, and then you shot 3 for 17 against the Warriors, who's a good defensive team, but still, like, we're talking about superstar. If you're a superstar, you're supposed to counteract that. So again, Jayson Tatum's bad shooting in the playoffs. Um, that's not a good look when we talk about who's a superstar. All right. Also, here's another thing. If I look at Jayson Tatum, also, I'm gonna put another screenshot on here so y'all can see it. He's also has 83 turnovers in the postseason. If y'all can see that description, Jayson Tatum has 83 turnovers this postseason, only 11 shy of LeBron James, 94, which was in 2018, for the most single playoff run in NBA history. Now, listen, I don't just look at the numbers, I watch the games, and a lot of Jayson Tatum's turnovers are unforced. It's just him making bad decisions, making bad reads, right? Getting, just pickpocketed, or just turn the ball up just because. This dude has 83 turnovers, 11 shy of LeBron James of all time. Now, if you look at that Cleveland team in 2018 and this Boston team right now, there's no way Jayson Tatum should have that many turnovers because he actually has more assists and more helps than LeBron James did, right? So for you to have that many turnovers leading the league in turnovers in the playoffs right now, even though you're still playing, I still see Jayson Tatum does not make good reads, right? So he has to find a way to, become more smarter and actually reading defenses. Okay. But also, that's just on the court, like, basketball wise. One of the reasons also we got to look at what's a superstar is also, let me put this up here. You got to look at the mindset. Do I feel like Jayson Tatum has the mindset of a superstar? Meaning, when all else fails, can you give him the ball and he'll basically take you home? Now, here's the thing about basketball y'all got to realize and learn. You can look at a stat sheet and say he had 28, 29 points and say he had a great game. But what people don't pay attention to is that there's such thing as having empty calories and empty points. Yeah, I want you to stay with me. When I watch Tatum, a lot of his production comes in the first half. When he's having like a really good game or having a hot start, he does that usually in the first half. That's where he does his damage. Okay, then it's not uncommon for him to have a great first half and then have like an okay to bad second half. It's not uncommon. We've seen it in the playoffs. We saw it last game against the Warriors when he had 28 points, but he shot I think 3 times in the second half. So either he'll shoot less or he won't make shots in the second half. That ties into being a superstar because you have to control the full game the entirety of the time. You can't just take and pick and choose when to control the game. It's easier to, hit shots and be in control of the first half when there's no real pressure going on right now because everybody's just, getting their feet wet. But when the palms get sweaty, you know what I'm saying, moment gets tight, fists start clenching, fans on the edge of the seat, that's when that's when the team needs you. And I've seen a lot of times where Tatum either A, doesn't come for the moment, B, fails in the moment, or C, doesn't want the moment. Now, I'm not saying that he can't get there because he's only 24 years old. He can most definitely get there, but I'm just saying, like, this is the problem when we keep trying to put everybody as a superstar. This problem I had with Ja Morant. People were labeling him as a superstar just because of the season he had, but then he goes into the playoffs. He shoots bad against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He goes against the Golden State Warriors, and he was shooting bad efficiency in games, I believe, 1 and 3. And that's when he got hurt. I'm sorry, just games 1, but he really was struggling with turnovers. But I said to myself, we got to hold on before we start putting these guys as superstars. Luka Doncic, he was a good player, but he's not a superstar yet. He took a step forward, couldn't get out the conference finals, but before that, people had him as a superstar. Devin Booker, okay? Nikola Jokic, not a superstar. I know what people are going to say MVP, but like I said, if you can't get your team past the first round, you're not a superstar to me. If you can't even get them, you got swept twice in a row, 2 years in a row. Now, people are going to say because he didn't have Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. He had Michael Porter Jr. last year against the Suns and got swept. And we saw what the Suns were made of after getting beat by Luka Doncic. Then you got gentlemen swept by the Warriors, who are not even the same Warriors they were back in 2017 to 2019. You got gentlemen swept by them. Like, you can exploit different things in Nikola Jokic's game. The superstars, it don't matter what you do to them, they're going to find a way to prevail and, outdo you. It's going to take a full team effort to stop a superstar. Right? Now, when I look at the superstars, there's only 5 superstars in the NBA. That's Giannis Antetokounmpo, because he has all those boxes checked. What I said with, box office, multiple runs in the playoffs, championship, a finals MVP, 2 MVPs. Okay, number 1 option on a championship team, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Kawhi Leonard, even though people want to say Kawhi been hurt, it doesn't take away what he's already done. And when he's healthy, like take last year in the playoffs, he was the best player in the Western Conference. You can actually make the case the entire playoffs on both sides. Kawhi, we've seen what he's made of. We've already seen what he's done. 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs. Number one option on championship team. Box office. Turn that Clippers team into a national team. Right? So that's a superstar for you. Kevin Durant, even though KD, what happened to him this season in the playoffs, people got to remember that Brooklyn team was very, very dysfunctional. At one point, he had the team as number one seed in the Eastern Conference. You got to think about everything that's going on with that team. Of course, with Kyrie Irving, the James Harden situation, Steve Nash coaching, them not having much of a defensive team. Kevin Durant has this team as a number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Okay. Aside from that, he has two championships, two Finals MVP, a league MVP, box office, and you know what I'm saying, number one option on championship team. All right. Steph Curry, the babyface assassin. I think people are really starting to see who Steph Curry really is. Now I know people knew who he was, but I guess they forgot. But this dude is a superstar because he does it year in and year out. Right? He's a superstar because he does it year in and year out. Do I have to go through the two championships or the three championships, the two Finals MVPs, or I'm sorry, the two MVPs? Okay, two unanimous MVPs. Um, Number one option on a championship team, built a dynasty starting off from the ground up. Without him, there is no Golden State Warriors. The only thing this man's missing is a Finals MVP, and he's on a mission to get that this year. All right. And then the final person, I think we don't have to even really even dispute this one, and that's LeBron James. Now, people are going to say, well, LeBron James ain't been who he was the last 2 years. Again, what a superstar does, he's had multiple seasons of greatness, right? He's had multiple seasons. LeBron is already solidified to the point where he doesn't lose a superstar title. Even when we talk about last year individually, he still was productive. Now, when he falls off the wagon completely, then we can take the superstar title away from him based off of age. But last year he was still productive, even though they didn't make it to the playoffs. Individually, he was still productive. Okay. Now that goes back to Jayson Tatum. No, he's not a superstar. He's a all-star who's had a good season. We will see what happens these next two games against the Golden State Warriors. But based off what I'm seeing in these playoffs, I'm seeing a lot of things that Jayson Tatum needs to learn. Number one, how to control the game. Number two, have pace. Number three, a mindset to be unstoppable throughout the entirety of the game. And number four, also, I think he needs to stop trying to be like Kobe and start being like him. I know it's difficult because Kobe, pretty much is somebody he looks up to, got into the basketball. But I think what he's trying to do, even you can see in this game, he's starting to trying to copy Kobe at way too much entirely. This media is pushing Kobe on Jayson Tatum instead of trying to let him be him. And I think if they let him be him, you'll see a better version of Jayson Tatum. It wasn't until Kobe Bryant understood that he wasn't Michael Jordan or he didn't want to be Michael Jordan anymore that you saw the more mature Kobe Bryant. You saw the guy who is a different leader. He was a different player. But before he was trying to be like Mike so much, you know what I'm saying, with the tongue hanging out when he would try to dunk it, you know what I'm saying, all that stuff is when he started to, tap into a better version of himself. And I think JT will get there, but he's, because he's still young, but I would just say that. But no, he's not a superstar. If he wins a championship and, finals MVP, I'll probably be able to catapult him there. Because of the season they've had. And they've had multiple seasons, in the playoffs. You got to remember the Celtics have been to the playoffs or the conference finals their third time in 5 years. So JT would be qualified to be in the superstar category as far as my criteria. But that's all I got to say about that. You know what I'm saying? Hit me on the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, all three facets, you know what I'm saying? Spotify, Twitter, iHeartRadio, you know what I'm saying? With that being said, respectfully say, pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull up. Peace. Out of here like swim.